Welcome to Mythbusters ADHD edition. My name is Dr. Catherine Garforth from Garforth Education.
Hi, my name is Selena Lee. I am the ADHD Whisperer.
We are working together to dispel some common ADHD myths.
ADHD is a boy-only disorder, and that is definitely not true. Girls do have ADHD. They can have it as severe as boys or males, and it's very underdiagnosed in women. And one of the reasons this is because the way that they express their ADHD characteristics or symptoms are different than the males. And it's just a matter of figuring out what those clues are.
Yeah, so I think it stems also from, they used to think it was just a boy disorder, didn't they? And so all of the assessment was done based on little boys, and then all of the diagnostic tools that they created later were based on little boys, and then how to medicate or treat was based on little boys, and little boys and little girls are very different. And generally speaking, there's, presentations that are different with the boys and girls, and they even call it a girl presentation and a boy presentation, because in the beginning they used to think it was just the hyperactive impulsive, and then there was separate names for separate disorders, and now it's all come under the ADHD umbrella of inattentive for a girl presentation, even though lots of boys can be inattentive, and it's hyperactive impulsive for the boy presentation, and then there's the combination of two, but it's not, if you're a girl you have one, and if you're a boy you have another. It's just the way girls and boys generally present.
Yeah, and also there's the added fact that females are often more socially conscious and trying to fit in and able to mask or hide these behaviors and try and make them not as noticeable. But there definitely are, the little children that are running around, bouncing off the walls, needing that physical input, regardless of whether they're female or male.
Yes.
It's just learning what to spot and how to catch those children that aren't showing that hyperactive impulsive presentation. Those inattentive children are not the squeaky wheels that you're seeing. So they're easier to let fall through the cracks when it comes to diagnosis, and saying, simply that they're not interested, or, they haven't had enough sleep, when really if it's something that's consistent and persistent across areas, so it's not just when they're at school, it's when they're at home, it's not just when there's something boring happening, it's when there's something exciting happening that they should really care about and want to be involved in. Right? It's realizing all these different components that factor into that ADHD diagnosis.
Yes, I find it especially hard when they're not the squeaky wheel. A lot of the experts these days are focusing more on the missed diagnosis of females. And like me, for example, diagnosed at age 40 after my 6-year-old son. And I feel it a lot, and especially now that I recognise when and what is happening, that I have done quite a lot in my life leading up to it. I don't have as much resentment or regret for what could have been. However, I see many women say, why didn't they help me when I was younger? Why did they let me struggle? And it's not blaming anyone in particular, but it's a grief, it's a feeling of loss, a feeling of what could have been, the potential. So I like the fact that these experts are saying, let's look at boys and girls, and let's not say that one girl for every 4 boys diagnosed. Let's just see that they present differently, and possibly they're off daydreaming and their thoughts are colliding in their head. They're better at mimicking and masking for social events.
Well, and then something that you brought up there is that you got diagnosed once your son did. And there are several parents that fall into that category where, ADHD is just becoming more of that common term in the past couple of decades. And it was this increased awareness And this knowledge that's coming out is meaning that parents are becoming more conscious of these symptoms. Like, well, yeah, I was like that when I was a kid. I don't have ADHD. And they're like, oh, maybe I do. Right. And then you have that snowball of diagnoses that can happen in a family once the one individual is identified. And then siblings, parents, cousins, aunts, uncles, like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
it's me too, right?
Yeah, so when my son was diagnosed, the pediatrician looked at my partner and I and said, so your son has ADHD. And then she did a big pause and she said, and it's genetic. So we had to do our own investigation, and we were like a bit shocked, and I blamed him, and he's like, of course it's my fault.